Merry Christmas and welcome, one and all, to this very special live stream here on the Pacific Forum for YouTube channel. I am your host, Mike. Today, I just thought I would come on for a little while and share some of my Christmas stories and also have a moment for all of you who would like to share your Christmas stories, a chance to come on and share those memories. Now, the reason why I say memories is because it's just my sister and I, and that's all I have left. It's all I have left on this Christmas are fond memories of my grandparents, my parents, and my uncles on Christmas. And I thought I would share some of those stories with you today. But first, before I begin, I do want to say hello and Merry Christmas to Alan Copeland. Thank you for being here, Alan. So, as I said, all I have anymore are just memories of Christmas past. I'm not married, never been married, don't even have a current girlfriend, but I have many fond memories of celebrating Christmas with my parents, going over to my grandmother's house, whether it's on my mom's side, whether it's on my dad's side, and celebrating Christmas. Of course, whenever we went over to my grandmother's on my dad's side, that's where my cousins would be as well, my uncles, my aunts. And we would spend many a Christmas together. And, there are Christmases that I remember very fondly, and other Christmases, depending on the age, I'll admit that it's very fuzzy. But one of the things I do remember is one particular Christmas when I was around 6 years old. And this was actually the last Christmas I would celebrate with my grandfather on my dad's side before he passed away due to cancer. And just, how happy he was and how happy everybody was, my mom, my dad, my grandmothers, and of course my aunts and uncles, just celebrating, being together, having a good time together, and family, because that's what the holidays are about. Whether you celebrate Christmas on this day, for those of you who are celebrating Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah to you. And for those who will be celebrating Kwanzaa starting tomorrow, happy Kwanzaa to you as well. You know, like I said in the beginning of this, I'm not married. I don't have kids of my own. Don't have a family of my own. But I do have very fond memories of celebrating Christmas with my own family. I mean, you know, there were some Christmases where my mom, who was a registered nurse in pediatrics, would s- sometimes be working on Christmas. Other times, she'd be able to celebrate with us, whether it be at home or at one of the grandmothers. Well, there was one particular Christmas where I knew she had gotten home. She actually got home late because they were busy. So she didn't get home till around 1 in the morning, but she still put out all the Christmas presents under the tree. And I had to have been up around 7, maybe 8. And, she comes out with all the presents. Of course, I know this because she had to pass my room to go into the master bedroom. So I would hear her footsteps, you know, it's, I don't know how long it was, but, back and forth, back and forth. And you can hear her putting things underneath. the tree, well, by the time she was done, she was just exhausted. My dad had done some of it earlier, but my mom had told him prior to her getting home, "Let me put out the rest of the gifts because there's certain things that I know where I put them, and I don't need you rummaging through the closet or through any of her secret hiding places because in those, secret hiding places and also in the closet, there were some of his gifts too, and she didn't want him to see it, especially if she still had to wrap them. So after she was all done, she decided, you know what, I'm too tired to walk to the bedroom. I'm just gonna fall asleep on the couch. So 7, 8-year-old me comes out of my room. This is, I don't know. It was early in the morning. It wasn't even 6 o'clock yet. And of course, still believing in Santa, I peek around the hallway and I look toward where our Christmas tree was. Our house, when I lived out in California, was just a single story house, 3 bedroom, single story house. And all the bedrooms were in the left side of the house if you're looking at the house from the front. And the hallway leads to 2 bedrooms, one on each side. Then you make a right down the hallway and you go into the master bedroom. And of course, if you made a left, you would walk into the garage. Well, I again go down the hallway, go into the living room. Now, the living room, when you enter this particular house, you enter through the front door and you're right in the living room. There was no step into the living room like some houses. And our tree was pretty much right by the fireplace. So that was toward the back of the living room if you're looking at it from the front door. So it was to the back and to the left. And on either side of the fireplace were 2 windows. So we, you know, would always pretty much put the tree in the same spot each and every year, the same back left corner. Sometimes we would change it up and put it in the right corner or put it more toward the hallway, but not to where it was obstructing anything and, easy for someone to end up tripping. So, you know, I'm there. I don't even notice that my mom's sleeping on the couch. And I walk right past the couch. I should have seen her, but there were no lights on. So I, knew the area just by memory of how frequently I've gone through that living room and get to the tree. And of course, I start looking for presents for me because what kid at 6, 7, 8 years old doesn't start looking for presents labeled for them? So I start looking and I get to this box. Now, I didn't know what was in it, but what made me go yes was the fact that it had my name on it. Well, uh, what I end up finding out is that this particular Christmas present for this particular year, at 6, 7, 8 years old, was actually Castle Grayskull. So I ended up, getting Castle Grayskull for Christmas that year, and I was so excited. Of course, there was a Garfield plushie because I also like Garfield at the time. But the reason why I'm telling this particular story is because it's one that my mom would sometimes mention. Do you remember that time you were 6, 7, 8 years old and you didn't even see me sleeping on the couch? You just went right to the tree and started looking for gifts for you. Oh, well, yeah. She says, I was there on the couch. I heard you. I'm all, sorry. She's all, no, don't be sorry. It was one of the things that she absolutely enjoyed. It put a smile on her face. I mean, think about it. At this time, at least, my mom was working 8-hour shifts at the hospital in pediatrics. So to come home and to have, you know, me or it could have been my sister look through the gifts and go, yes, it, it made it all worth it for her. Now, before I continue, I do want to say hello to a few of you who have just popped in. I do want to say hello and Merry Christmas to Godzillionaire. Merry Christmas to you. Of course, Alan Copeland is saying Merry Christmas to Godzillionaire. We also have Dwayne Foy Jr. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas to you, Dwayne. And we also have Jet Sparks. Merry Christmas to you, Jet Sparks. Now, let me go ahead and put the invite link for anybody who would like to come on. You don't have to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you do want to come on, here's the invite link, and you can share some of your favorite Christmas memories of the past. And in the meantime, I will continue on. Now, the thing about my family is we've never been a big family. We've always been a small family, but as far as my immediate family of my mom, my dad, my sister, and I, we were very close. And I'm not gonna lie, today has been tough. Thinking about those Christmases of the past. But I know I'm not the only one. I know that 100% that I'm not the only one, that there are many of you out there who are missing loved ones, not just on Christmas, but every day. And I offer my friendship to you, my love to you, and hope that everything gets better for all of us in 2023. I know these last few years haven't been easy. Not going to pretend like they have been because they haven't. But I look to next year and I look to better times to come because, days like today, like I said, I think back to what I have, what I was taught, what I was given, and what I have are memories of people who I loved very much, who loved me very much, who many people loved very much. And I think about them every day, and I'm never going to stop. And I do want to say hello to a couple more who have popped in. I do want to say good afternoon and Merry Christmas to you, Phil McCracken. I know we give each other a hard time. I know there's a lot of joking going on, especially during Pop Talk. But Phil, to you and to everybody who's here, everybody who might be lurking or just listening, thank you for your support during this year. I greatly appreciate it. I I know there are times where this channel gets chaotic, especially on Pop Talk, but I promise you that I am working to improve things because I want to improve things. I want to improve the way I produce content for this channel, whether it's a video, whether it's a live stream. I want to get better. I want to give you all something that you know you look at and you know that you're welcomed here. Because that's the one thing I want everybody to know. When I say welcome one and all on this channel, I mean welcome one and all. Just like today, everybody is welcome to come on to the panel and share their Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or holiday memories. Because I know not everybody celebrates Christmas. But I want you all to know that you are welcomed here. You will always be welcomed here. And I also want to say hello to the Padawannabe who says, Merry Christmas, everyone. Catching up now. Awesome, brother. And Jet Sparks is saying, Merry Christmas to Alan Copeland. Jet Sparks is also saying, Christmas was tough for me, but I made chili last night and breakfast this morning. Nice. Very nice. And let's see. Alan Copeland is saying, Merry Christmas to the Padawannabe. Bush, Merry Christmas to you, brother. And let's see. Jeff Sparks says, Bills bogged me down this and preparing things for next year. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, nothing's getting easier. Our bills keep rising and everything else just keeps getting out of hand. I'm not going to get political today. If you've been around this channel long enough, you know I try not to get political. And Alan is saying, Merry Christmas to Bush McFadden. And Phil is saying, Where are my Xmas cookies? Phil, I'm sure you have plenty of Christmas cookies around that you could be munching on. If you'd like to come on here and share some of your Christmas memories, I'm sure you have plenty of fun memories that you'd like to share, especially on Christmas Day. You're more than welcome. But yeah, I mean, Christmas, and it's a time of family, and with my family, like I said in the beginning, and there were times where we would either go to my grandmother's on my mom's side or my grandmother's on my grandmother's side and open our gifts. But a lot of times, as I was saying before, we would go over to my grandmother's on my dad's side, and it would be myself, my sister, my parents, my two grandmothers, and my uncles and my aunts, and of course, my five cousins. So we would all go over there, spend pretty much from 2 in the afternoon all the way till sometimes 11, 12 midnight over at grandma's and, hearing stories about my mom from my grandmother on my mom's side, about my mom when she was growing up, and then, hearing stories from my grandmother on my dad's side and my two uncles about my dad and how he was when he was growing up. There was laughter and, you know, us kids, of course, would have to sit at the kid table. I and there was one thing I always wanted to try, but I unfortunately never got a chance to. And that one thing was my grandmother's eggnog. And the reason why, because it definitely smelled like an eggnog I'd like to try. I don't mean to say that in a bad way. I mean to say that there were times where she would put bourbon in her eggnog, and it was a recipe that she and my grandfather on my dad's side got from a friend of there as well. My grandfather was in the Army Air Force. So they would take that recipe, and every year the adults would be able to have it. My sister eventually got to have it. I'm unfortunately never got a chance to have it, but just hearing about it and even smelling it, you know, I'm not much of a drinker, but that is something I do wish I could have had a sample of. Although my parents would go, "Oh no, this is way too strong. I don't think you can handle it, Michael." And let's see. The Padawan says, "Hey, I have a bunch of Garfield plushies. Nice, brother." And he also adds, "Still catching up." And Phil McCracken says, "Pacific 4 and 4. I would, but I am in the middle of cooking Christmas dinner: ham, sweet potatoes, peas, pineapple, and that definitely sounds delicious, Phil." And speaking of Christmas dinner, I did have Christmas dinner with my sister. We decided to have a ham this year with my mom's crab salad recipe and a couple of rolls and some fried apples. And it was tasty. So, getting back to being over at grandma's, my grandmother on my dad's side, same with my grandmother on my mom's side, they would always have, everything laid out. You would have the drinks for the kids, the drinks for the adults, of course, the eggnog. And my grandmother on my dad's side was big into, appetizers and finger foods. So you can find, your vegetables, your meats, your cheeses, peanuts. My grandmother loved peanuts, you know, snack foods, party mixes, all that. And that was before we had the turkey. Now, of course, when we got there, grandma had the turkey in there in the oven for a few hours, but it was my dad's responsibility to check on the turkey when she was busy doing something or she didn't want to leave the dining room to check on the chicken. So that was my dad's responsibility. And it was also his responsibility to carve the turkey once it was ready. Now, as far as my responsibility was concerned, when I got older, my responsibility was to do the mashed potatoes as long as I did eat the mashed potatoes. That was always the fun little catch that my grandmother would throw in there. She's all, "Okay, Michael, your responsibility is to mash the potatoes. Just don't eat them all on us." And then, everybody would chime in, "Yeah, Michael, don't save them for yourself." And, I would always say, but, no buts. And the thing about my grandmother on my dad's side is eh, she had a side of her that could be fun, but she also had that side of her because of her upbringing that was very strict. But whenever, she tasked me with doing the mashed potatoes, she was always funny about it because after I was done, I would grab a spoon and I would taste them. I said, "What? I got to make sure they're done right. I can't let you guys eat them if they're not right." And of course, then my mom would chime in and go, "Sure, Michael. Uh-huh. I got your number." But yeah, I mean, you know, sticking with my grandmother on my dad's side, one of the things that we always looked forward to every Christmas, because my grandmother would ask, "What's your shoe size now? You're growing fast. What's your shoe size?" Is she would knit slippers for us. So she would do it for my mom. She would do it for my dad. She would do it for me. She would do it for my sister, my cousins, my aunts. My uncles weren't too crazy about it, but my dad liked them. So she would knit slippers for us. So that was one thing that we look forward to each and every year was getting these slippers. And as a matter of fact, in one of the closets here at the house, In the box, I actually have the last pair of slippers that she gave me, saving them as a memento. So, we will look forward to that, and just have a lot of family fun. And I'm going to welcome in and say Merry Christmas to Jet Sparks.
Merry Christmas and praise be to the Lord as well.
Yes. So, what are your fond Christmas memories as I play some music here?
Oh, me? Well, I think one of my oldest Christmas memories was Christmas 1997. I mean, it was snowing that day. I mean, that was one of the rare times, at least back down when you lived in Tennessee, when it snowed on Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was snowing out. Mom and Dad were kind of like still like near where a little was close to where they're a little close to before their relationship started falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we were at my grandparents' house. We all got bundled up along with my mom. We all went outside, went outside, played in the snow, and then we went after we like went out and like we went out and unwrapped our presents. Turns out one of the best things we got that year was a Nintendo 64. Nice. And after that, all we did was play Mario Kart all day and just bundled up, just did that the whole day. In fact, again, the N64 was probably the first game console I ever got as a kid.
That reminds me of the Christmas of '88 when I got my NES. You get the NES, and it came with the light gun. It came with the 2 controllers, and then it came with
the NES
Super Mario. Yep, came with the Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt. So all day I was playing that, and then a couple of days after Christmas, my dad says, "Let's go to Target." And what does he pick up? He picks up Top Gun, because that was his favorite game to play on the NES.
Oh yeah, I forgot they made a game version of Top Gun. But I know, again, NES was before my time. But even then, I still want to fast forward a few more years to Christmas 2001 at least. Yeah, pretty much around that time. Yeah, we obviously, another good thing we got, and we were super excited when it came out. I mean, I may have got a peek at it, and it was, of course, the original Xbox that we got for Christmas. I know we didn't have, but he got one of those bundles that had like a combo disc of 2 games in here. In fact, I even still have that disc. It is Jet Set Radio Future and Sega GT 2002. I still have that disc to this very day.
Nice. And real quick, I do want to say Merry Christmas to Gap After Dark. Gap, if you'd like to come on here and share some of your Christmas memories, Christmas stories, please do. But I also understand that you're most likely with your family right now. So if you can't, no hard feelings. So what else, brother?
I mean, oh, sorry, I had that joke up there. It's Gary Busey. He voiced Santa Claus in like a video game I was just playing not too long ago. It was called Killing Floor 2, and I think they have like a big holiday update.
Nice.
So yeah, it's kind of crazy though. Hello, Merry Christmas from Gary Busey. I don't know, that's not a very good impression of him, but hey.
It's better than what I can do.
Yeah, but like I said though, Christmases were pretty standard. We always had, but I know the one biggest thing was like my grandmother. She really did a lot of things over the holidays. Is like, again, getting all the stuff for Thanksgiving dinner. But I know, even though we helped out as best we could from time to time. I know there were times where, but I think a couple years before she passed, I mean, we all just came together and said, no, yeah, You're not lifting a finger. We're just gonna do it. But as stubborn as my grandmother was, she always wanted to cook like Thanksgiving dinner, always, all
Mm-hmm.
the time, no matter what, was all the stuff, turkey, everything else. But that's the kind of thing, though. For me, in a way, the holidays are just really, we're just always something very fun to always have. I mean, even now, like in the more recent years, I know this is kind of veering a little more into more sadder territory, but the year my grandmother passed, I mean, I kind of feel like it was just not, it just felt like a hole in my heart it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that, look, my grandmother really she was the very reason I had a lot of things I know, but also she was also the reason that was kind of holding me down in a way, or at least why, like any person should be, like a female influence in your life should be the thing that teaches you compassion. But and I know the thing is, my grandmother had her compassionate moments, but also she's had her share of mean streaks too. Because even though it's just like it's a little, it's kind of it's different and sort of like complex with my grandmother's way of thinking about a lot of things. But she really did have a lot of heart and had a lot of love to give. Especially the biggest thing that always gave her a lot of happiness was children. I mean, even after my first nephew was born, she was just always so happy to be around him all the time. Just like how she was happy to be around me and my sisters when we were young and growing up. Even she took care of a lot of my grandfather's my grandfather's nephews and nieces kids,
Mm-hmm.
and his nephews and nieces. She took care of a lot of their kids, and even took care of a couple other kids in the neighborhood we lived in. Because the house I lived in with I practically grew up in that house, and the majority of my life I grew up living there. But in
Okay.
the last few years, I've been living up here in Illinois, and then I've been living on my own in my own apartment. But like I said, though, since I have so much responsibility now, I couldn't really see family this year. But the only silver lining I'm going to get from this is that my two nephews who are pretty much on their way back up here, and they're going to be spending the week with me and my dad and my stepmom.
Nice. Very nice. So you get a chance to see them and spend some of the holiday with them.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of the thing, though. And we already know there's a lot of a lot of other complicated things though with just family and whatnot. I know, but still, but every time I do go home, I just feel like I just feel like I've lost some bit of connection to the house I grew up in. I mean, I've gotten so used to living in the apartment I'm standing in right now. It's just so much different now living here than it was living back in Tennessee. But there's some good. There's always some good. There's some good in all of it. But there's also some bad in all of it. Like I said, I have to deal with freezing temperatures most of the time, and it's just like it's rough.
Mm-hmm.
And I already know that even then, come next year, it's not going to be any easier because I saw when I resigned for my lease, my rent's going to be going up.
Uh, I mean, that's the thing. None of us know what's coming next year. Nobody does.
Yeah, but lucky for me, I'm doing everything I can to try to prepare. I have a habit of keeping my receipts and filing them away, which is one thing I need to focus on getting come like or at least in the next several days or so, or come first of the year, is try to get a filing cabinet for all the receipts I collected over the last few years.
Mhm.
And I'm always constantly budgeting everything, but still sometimes when you're just kind of hungry and you gotta go, you just want to go out and grab something to eat. It's often just you got to make that sacrifice, but also you got to understand that you can't really make do with a lot of stuff because you're just that hungry for like a certain thing, and you just got to go out and grab it. But oftentimes, at least for the last few months, starting in October, I started getting a lot of provisions, a lot of canned goods and stuff I needed for the winter ahead. Which thankfully, I'm glad I do, and hopefully, maybe sometime early later on this week, I'm gonna be getting some more stuff. But like I said, though, family trying to get with them a lot of time it's just different. I know, but even then, there are times where they're always going to tell me, yeah, I'm going to help them, but also I still understand the idea that yeah, time is finite, especially with my grandfather, and I'm always constantly worried about how he's doing because just 2 years ago he pretty much he lost his wife of 62 years.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what's that like.
Yeah, I know, and that's just the thing, though. And I mean, it's different though, because I mean, right around the time I'm around my age now, that's when my grandparents got married. I mean, there was a 7-year age difference between them. My grandfather was 27 when he got married. My grandmother was 19. Maybe even I even seen all those wedding photos of them. And it's just different how far in terms of a generation how far they were and how my generation is. It's just like my I mean, I'm 27. Heck, I've never even dated a single person in my life. And if I did, I mean, there's no guarantee that everything's gonna go smoothly half the time. Either the girl either either the girl's just gonna see me as something different, or just see me as something she can just leech off of, or she's not gonna pay any attention to me and she's gonna do something behind my back and just hopes that I'm too oblivious to notice it. And
Mhm.
that's why I'm understanding that some people just don't want to have to deal with that kind of stuff and have to deal with that heartache. But you know, and Christmas is that time of giving. Sometimes I've thought about, even if I can't spend time with family, it'd be just nice to just be able to spend time with somebody who I'll grow to love, and maybe someday even start a family of my own.
You never know.
Like I said, my oldest sister, she has a family of her own essentially, but I kind of feel this. I kind of feel the same way for my other sister as well, and it's just different. And the same thing kind of goes with my cousin, because I think last year I actually attended her wedding last year.
Mhm.
She married a preacher. A very good. And he seemed like he was a very good man.
Very nice. Y- Yeah, I mean, I can remember my parents telling me the story about how they met. My dad was a California Highway Patrol officer, and my mom, as I mentioned earlier, was a registered nurse up in pediatrics. Well, one of the girls that she worked with in pediatrics was also married to a California Highway Patrolman, and they ended up setting my mom and dad up, and my mom and dad said it was like we were meant to be together.
Hmm.
Yeah, mom was from the East Coast. Dad grew up, always lived in California on the West Coast, but my dad always said, "She's my imported, exported bride." And my mom would say, "I'm from New York." That is just, their kind of banter. They just hit it off, and they're always grateful to their two friends for, letting them meet.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same thing. My grandparents. I gotta say, my grandparents lived at least my grandmother, she lived a little somewhat privilegedly, even though this was like back during when segregation was at its height in this in like the in like this in like southern states like Tennessee and whatnot. I know my grandfather. I think he was there at Fisk. I think he did show up to one of like the ones at Fisk University. I know he's been a part of a fraternity, Pi Beta Sigma, at Tennessee State University for many years, and heck, he's always been a part of something known as Toastmasters. So
Mhm.
he's done public speaking and whatnot. But my grandparents they actually met through a mutual job, and I think yeah, they met. I think I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if my grandfather it was hot off. This was like hot off of my grandfather's him fresh off of his military service, because I'm pretty sure if he met my grandmother, then he probably would have like had to go up to he probably would have had to go up to she probably would have had to move to Alaska with him. But I'm pretty sure it was probably after that happened. So I think they met around like the early 60s.
Mhm. Well, when it came to my parents, they met 50 years ago. My mom and dad said we only knew each other for 6 months before we got married.
Yeah, but now we got people who have been dating for years and are not even who are not even formally married, and they have kids together.
And I do want to stop and say hello and Merry Christmas to you, Leia Rose. Hope you've had a great Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Leia. Or in the case of the Star Wars, Happy Life Day.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, I completely understand. It was a different world 50 years ago when my
Yeah,
parents met.
yeah, I know. I'd say my dad was the last generation of baby boomers. He was born 64. My uncle, his younger brother was obviously pure Gen X, and I think it's the same thing with my mom. I think there's like maybe a 2 to 3 year age difference between them. I think I'm not really sure, but all I know is that they actually met in Reno, Nevada. That's where they both met each other. And, yeah, and I don't exactly know most of the specifics of everything, but yeah,
Mhm.
they grew a liking to each other. And I know over time, I think there's something my grandmother always told me that yeah, she had certain other types of feelings. So just to put that lightly, and just they just simply I don't know when I was very young, all I could remember at times was just hearing them argue most of the time. After that, that's all I could
Mhm.
really hear from them was just them arguing. And it just shows that yeah, it really just shows that they were just kind of incompatible. But a few years ago, the only thing I was just happy to see was just happy to see them talk, just at least them talking to each other. And I know like a lot in the last like few years, I know they've actually because I know all that time that we grew up, they were separated for many years
Mhm.
while we were growing up. So, but only in like in the last 6 years, they actually formally divorced. But I know at least the thing is, I know again. There's like things that I know they were both kind of over the course of that time. They were both kind of discombobulated away from the split from each other, and it's just like. But luckily for us, we had our grandparents to help raise us up. And I know, it kind of, but I kind and sometimes I often felt like I kind of regret having to have them sacrifice the autumn of their years to help raise us up.
I mean, I can remember stories. I mean, yes, my mom had my grandmother and grandfather, but my great grandmother on my grandfather's side also lived with them, and she did a lot of the raising for my mom when my grandmother and grandfather were either out and about or at work because my grandfather was working at the New York Stock Exchange
Uh,
as their lead maintenance.
Wow.
So,
Hopefully,
and
hopefully I paid a lot of good money.
I don't know the specifics because I never asked my mom. I didn't feel like it was any of my business to ask, well, how much did grandpa make? Is just, one of the things that he did after World War II, he was an engineer in the Navy. And, you know, the way my mom put it is she said he made sure that we had food on our table. And, it was my great grandmother who, no matter what was there in the cupboards or in the refrigerator, she would be able to whip something up by the time my grandfather got home from work or my grandmother got home. And
Yeah, but still, it's always just the Stranger Things. Though I mean, everything was more or less stable. I know my grandmother and grandfather they often themselves just bickered, but it was just standard, bickering as an old married couple.
yeah.
But deep down, they really did truly love each other. Even then, even like the night before she passed, she literally just told him, I just want to walk with you, and just have one last dance."
Hmm.
And I
I mean,
know,
that's love right there.
yeah, but I mean, it's just sad that, not a lot of those marriages happen nowadays. It's just like, even then, people will file divorce for like the smallest things.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate. I mean, I've known people who have gotten married and then within 2 years they are filing for separation and eventually, divorce.
Yeah. Uh,
I mean, as I've said to other people, relationships are hard. It doesn't matter if, it's a marriage or if it's family or if it's friendship. Maintaining a relationship isn't easy. It's a lot of work.
yeah, that's true. But still, there is always that fond memory that I'll always carry with my grandmother. And
Hmm.
just, it seems to me just even more the same with my grandfather, because I know in the last few years, I mean, he's been having to walk with a cane more, and I know he's getting up. I already knows that he's getting up there, and it's just, I mean, I even been talking to him for like multiple times over the last few days, saying I'm just so sorry that I couldn't come and see you guys this year. But
Um,
I hope I'm gonna make it up to them, make it up to him, because we're gonna be going to see the Blue Angels down in at an air show in June this next year.
all right. Because I was just going to ask you, do you think you're going to have a chance coming up to go see your grandfather? And
Yeah, I hope so. No, one thing, but also like I said, 2022 has been a pretty crazy experience. I
I
mean,
think,
I know I achieved everything, but I know this is kind. I know this the holidays been kind of a bit of a like a little bit of a lower point for the year. I still think that the biggest high point is me getting at least over 100 subscribers this year. And I know one thing, at least I actually did put out a short on my channel that actually got at least 200, got at least over 200 views, which is really
nice.
nice. It's
Nice. I
just
mean,
me showing that I was making making some holiday chili.
with shorts, it's either hit or miss. Sometimes you'll have a short and it'll get only 5 views, and then in your case, you got 200 views on that short.
Yeah.
And, that has a lot to do with the YouTube algorithm. And I don't want to get into YouTube talk right now.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it is great to always know that the biggest thing I've always been happy about is that even though I don't want to ever have to be a bother on anybody in my family, because I'm just glad I can do a lot of things for myself. And the only thing I just ask for is just like just to help, just stuff that can help out a little bit. I mean, even
Yeah.
though they said they'll gladly help because they always told me, yeah, that's what family's supposed to do for each other. We're always supposed to help each other out, no matter what happens.
Yeah. I mean, even before my mom passed away, it'll be 2 years come January 25th. She would say to me when I would say to her, "Mom, you didn't have to do this for me." She would say, "I know I didn't have to do it for you, but I want to do it for you because you're my son and I love you." And she says,
Yeah,
"Besides, you're always doing things for me around the house."
yeah, and that's the same thing. It's just like it's always the greatest thing. I mean, I've always figured that yeah, there'll never be anybody more kinder to you than your family.
Hmm. I mean, I've even said this. I said, "The first woman to ever accept me was you, Mom." She says, "Why wouldn't I accept you? You're my son." I mean, she she told me that so many times. She said, "Michael, don't worry. Don't stress. You're stressing too much. You're a lot like your father when you do that." I said, "I can't help it. It's in the genes."
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you know, days like today, as I was saying in the beginning, I think back to fond memories with my family, whether it be with my mom and dad. I'm grateful my sister's still here. Thinking about my grandparents and my cousins. Yeah, we try to keep in contact through Facebook, but that doesn't always work out. And
Yeah, and that's the reason why it's just not the same. I know the same thing was going on with what happened the last couple years. I mean, this is always the biggest thing together, and I've always felt it's good that there are people out there who were able to hopefully see their families, but there are times when there are other people who just can't,
hmm
like you and me. This was just not one of those years where we really could see anybody.
no, I mean, think about this cold front that's gone through the country. A lot of flights were canceled. A lot of people were looking forward to seeing family members in other parts of the country this year, and unfortunately, because of the weather itself, they weren't able to make it.
Yeah, like I said, for me the biggest issue was just having to deal with like having to deal with like winter weather, and heck, it'd be even more scary just trying to get back up if when the
Hmm.
weather passes. Because I think it's
Yeah.
just easier to drive because I know flying would take a lot quicker, but again, it's I'm gonna be honest here. I really absolutely hate flying, especially with all the stuff you got, all the crap you got to go through, all these extra steps you got to go through to get to the gate and whatnot. But it's just it's just easier just to just like pack up wherever you need, whatever you're taking with you, and just drive on down there.
Hmm. Yeah, I know plenty of people who prefer to drive over flying because you get to see more things when you're driving as opposed to being up in the air and flying to your destination. Because there are people who will drive across country and they'll make an adventure out of it. Go check out roadside attractions and
Yeah,
things that they
exactly. And
normally
that's the
wouldn't.
one thing I want to do is but I honestly would love to do this with just a girl I meet is just go on a nice cross country trip on Route 66.
Hmm. I mean, it starts there right in Chicago. You could take it all the way to the West Coast if you wanted to.
Yeah, and that's what I plan on doing. I mean, There are some things that are really cool in Illinois. I mean, I will give it that, but still, just we already know there are the other things that I don't ever want to deal. I don't ever want to have to go deal. I hope I don't want to ever have to deal with, because there's a lot of good things about Chicago, but living there is just not. It's two things. It's infeasible and it's too dangerous. It's far too
Hmm.
dangerous, and that's why, at least the town I live in, Princeton, is a beautiful town, and the people are actually pretty nice here.
Excellent.
It's a nice big main street. You got a movie theater on the main street. You got a takeout restaurant. There are a few other restaurants here in town. And I really just like to see more stuff, more people like take an interest and come here. It just seems like it's a very nice place to just. I think it is a perfect place to raise a family here. Personally, I think it is.
And see that's the thing, somebody else could look at your town and say, well, I don't see this town's appeal, but then they might meet you and you can tell them
Yeah, I
certain
mean,
things about the town that make it unique from any other town that they've been into, and it
yeah,
may give them a
I mean,
reason to go out there and actually learn about the area more. Try to find those attractions that are there. Maybe there's a historical building there that they can check out.
there are a couple of historical places. I think there is a station house, and then there's also like a little trolley bus that comes around nearby that just takes people and tourisms around. It's not connected to any rails or anything, but it's just a little trolley bus that people can get on, and they'll take you some sites around town. I mean, even during the summertime, there's always some pretty nice things you can always check. You can always check out. There's always some festivals that happen on Main Street. I literally do live right across street. I live right across the street from the county fairgrounds. So I know there's always a county fair that comes every in like the death rows of summer, like around like late August, early September. It's always nice. You got a lot of good food. There's a lot of food, a few rides. Just something you can just take. You can just take over there. And plus, I mean, for me, I could literally just walk right across the street to there. It's just really nice. I mean, I feel like I'm in a bit of a good location to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You get off work one day and the fair's going on. What a better way to wind down from a busy day at work than go into the fair and enjoying some of the rides.
Yeah, and there are a few bars in town if you want to go check those out. One I recommend that's like on the very far west end of town. It's called the Black Rose Saloon. I think I went there for New Year's Eve one year.
Very nice. I mean, in the area that I live in, it's a beach area, so there are some bars and restaurants open, of course, during the summer. But a lot of times, this time of year, a lot of the bars and restaurants close down for the winter because there's just not a lot of activity to keep them open year round.
Yes, that's true. I mean, same thing. I think there's two things. There's a family owned ice cream shop, and there's also a Dairy Queen. I know it's only open from uh Memorial Day from Memorial Day to Halloween. That's how long it's gonna stay. That's how long it stays open for at least a good not at least a good 6 months out of the year. But from that point in time, it's usually just like during the, of course, we already know through the winter months nobody wants ice cream on a cold day. That's just redundant.
I know some people who actually do like ice cream no matter what the temperature is. It's like, okay.
No, winter weather is where you eat a lot of hot food, like chili, or heck, even just like make some hot chocolate or some hot tea. or coffee if you're one of those people. Just you have three different hot beverages you can enjoy on a cold night. I personally prefer tea or hot cocoa.
Sometimes I'll just heat up a bowl of soup and enjoy a nice warm bowl of soup. I mean, as far as coffee, I'm not much of a coffee drinker.
Yeah, me
I'm
neither.
the only one in my family that doesn't drink coffee.
Yeah, I know. I don't either. I prefer drinking cocoa or drinking tea. I personally prefer it, but I know. And my dad, man, my dad is the type of person that, of course, you can tell that he's from the South, that he's still stuck in his Southern roots because, again, he's that type of person that will put like sugar, a crap load of sugar in in a pitcher of iced tea, and he actually brews it in a big pot with like two or three big tea bags, pours it in there, and then just pours it's like sugar or lemon juice in there. And looking back on it, I know I used to enjoy that, but that honestly was too much. It was just too much. So I just enjoy tea the old fashioned way. Just put some honey in it, just put a single tea bag in in a mug, boil some hot water, pour it over, then just let it get strong, and then just put all the stuff in there afterward. It's just much better.
I mean, it's the first time I had sweet tea. You know, I knew there was sugar in there. I just didn't realize how much this particular glass had. And
Yeah,
I took a sip, and I'm all, oh my gosh! I just got a mouthful of sugar. I wasn't
yeah,
expecting that.
yeah. And I know one thing: people who are British, they obviously detest that kind of tea. Obviously, it's like what even is this abomination?
I
But
mean,
yeah, just I think I just like tea, just like drinking tea the old fashioned way. It's just way better that way.
I mean, what's funny is growing up in California, you know, a lot of places when you say tea, it's just a glass with ice and tea in it, and a slice of lemon, and then if you want to add sugar to it, well, you do it from the table. I mean, I don't know if it's changed now because I haven't
Yeah,
lived in
but
California
personally, if you
for
really want to make tea, really
25 years.
make a good hot cup of tea. Personally, you just put a little like maybe like a, at least at least a teaspoon of lemon juice in there, and maybe 2 or 3 teaspoons of honey in there. Just really just perfect, honestly.
I mean, I know this is going to probably get some gasp in the chat and maybe from you, Chet, but there are times I can just take tea and drink it straight up with no lemon, no sweetener of any kind.
Yeah, I probably think that's good for like when it's a hot day outside. But I mean, if you're gonna drink something on a hot, you're gonna drink any sort of like beverage, any sugary beverage, or any sort of like flavored beverage on a hot day. Just drink a soda. Drink some good old fashioned lemonade, or just even water.
A lot of times, especially now as I've gotten older, anytime during the summertime, I always go for the water. I don't go for the soda like I used to. I don't go for lemonade like I used to. It's always water, whether it's room temperature or cold. As long as it's available, I'll drink
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and of course it's not contaminated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, a lot of times, I'll get bottled water from the store. Get a 24 pack, or if the 32 pack is on sale, get a 32 pack and just grab it from there.
Yeah, and it's always good to have just water stored away when you need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you're saying, making sure that you have your canned goods just in case, because you never know. I mean, I live in an area that's prone to hurricanes, so you better believe I try to be prepared during hurricane season. This way, I have my provisions in case the power goes out, and you know I need to heat up some food.
Yeah, and I think maybe one thing I should, you know, they make battery powered hot plates, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I should invest some money in that, and a radio. Maybe that's one thing I'll try to. I think I'll try to make up for my grandfather. I'll send him a radio and a couple DVDs for Top Gun Maverick and that movie Devotion, which again was a great movie.
Yeah, I wish I'd been able to go see it again, but it's already out of my local theater because of Avatar: The Way of Water.
Ugh.
But I, I highly recommend Devotion. It was a great movie. It, you know, told a true story, and yes, I'm sure there are Hollywood elements thrown in there, but not
Yeah,
knowing the actual true story. I'm just glad to see a movie that wasn't a comic book movie, to be honest.
yeah. Because a person who I talked to a few months back, he actually got a chance to finally watch Morbius for the first time. I told him, yeah, be careful because there's gonna be some cringy stuff you're gonna run into with that movie.
I saw that movie with a friend when it came out last year, and I looked at her and I said, "Is it me or one? Is this film too dark? As in the lighting and everything, just too dark." Especially when he's in full vampire mode and he's out at night. It's like, maybe it's my eyes. She says, "No, it's not your eyes. This movie is too dark, but it's also not very good."
Yeah, this movie is not very good. I know the thing is, they actually were trying to really think they could try to set up the Midnight Suns storyline for this pocket Spider-Man universe.
Mhm.
But Sony really obviously nailed it better with No Way Home. They nailed this a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. And, I'll be honest, the only comic book movie I'm actually kind of looking forward to, but it's also not one that I have to be there the first day it comes out, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, like I said though, the MCU, it's losing steam, and we've already seen what's been going on these last few years. And I mean, especially most of Phase 4 has been very very bad.
I've only seen one movie during Phase 4 in the theaters, and that was Spider-Man: No Way Home. I watched Black Widow when I had Disney Plus and went, this movie could have been so much better."
Yeah, I actually went to go see Black Widow in theater, and yeah, it feels hot. This movie feels hollow because this movie feels like this should have came out in Phase 3,
Mhm.
or at least before, or at least heck, even as far back as Phase 2, maybe. Because
Yeah.
even then, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Because again, in terms of the timeline, yeah, this takes place right after like Civil War, but at least like after Civil War and just before Infinity War.
Yeah, and as I've said multiple times during Pop Talk, that would have been a great time to release the movie, after Civil War and just before Infinity War. This way it ties into everything together. But the way they did it, it just didn't. Now, since it is Christmas, Jet, do you have any favorite Christmas movies that you like to watch?
Two of them I actually did watch early, couple nights ago. The third one, I wish I could watch it. I thought it was on Hulu, but you only have to watch it via Star. So I mean, but also now they're like doing some crazy. They've done like some verification thing because I try to watch Disney Plus through my sister, and now they're telling me you need like some verification code and reset password or something. It's like, guys, are you doing the same thing? You're cracking down on other people using like our password sharing for like Disney Plus. Like seriously, guys, are you real? Are Netflix and YouTube that strapped for money? Are Netflix and Disney Plus really that strapped for money? Because it sounds like they kind of are. But the other one I really do like is Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It is such a funny movie. I mean, I remember my grandfather and I watching that movie all the time. It was just heck, even when it wasn't Christmas when she watched it, it was just too funny. Always. Especially the
Yeah, I've seen it, and to see Arnold in any sort of comedy situation, that's a laugh in itself.
yeah, I know. I still think, but I also think one of Arnie's most underrated movies is probably The Sixth Day, where of course, he was. It had obviously that movie had to do with a lot with human cloning and whatnot.
Mhm.
But but the other one, which I still think is the quintessential holiday film of all time, is of course Home Alone 1 and 2. You just cannot beat those two movies at all.
I I like both movies, but I gotta admit I like the first Home Alone more than I like Home Alone 2.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, it is more of the same. I mean, the traps are in two are funnier, but yeah, I mean, it is still just roughly more of the same thing. Kevin, just by some stroke of insane coincidence, gets left behind, but this time he gets on the wrong flight. Well, his family goes down to Florida. He ends up getting on a wrong flight to New York City. Hence, why the subtitle for the movie was called Lost in New York.
Mhm. And I do have a question for you. I have a question for anyone who's still in the chat. It's Die Hard. Is it or is it not a Christmas movie?
Hmm. Well, it's set around Christmas. They play Frank Sinatra's famous song, and of course, even you got a rap song from Run DMC as they approach Nakatomi Plaza. So I'd say yes, it is a Christmas movie. Die Hard is a Christmas movie,
Well, believe it or not, there are some people out there who say it is not a Christmas movie.
especially its own star Bruce Willis says it's not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, but like you just brought up, when there's Christmas music being played, it's taking place at a Christmas party. It's a Christmas movie. Just like Batman Returns is a Christmas movie.
I never really saw that much of that movie. I didn't even know it was set around Christmas. I didn't even notice it.
Yeah. Now, have you ever seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
Yes, I have seen that.
That's a great film. Of course, everybody likes, a Christmas story, and myself included. But one of my favorites, and we did a watch party this past Wednesday for it, was A Christmas Carol with George C. Scott. I know some people like the Muppet version. I like the version with George C. Scott.
And of course, I mean, there's so many interpretations of A Christmas Carol. You have that CGI one with Jim Carrey. You also
Hmm.
have how even there's two versions of how the Grinch Stole Turkey. You have the original one, the original animated version, and then you have the Illumination version with Benedict Cumberbatch as the Grinch, which did not make sense. I even saw it going through like, wow, this is not very good. It's
I
like,
never saw it, but from everyone who has seen it and they've told me about it, I'm glad I didn't go see it.
yeah, because look, nothing beats the original song. I mean, it looks all the closer to like how Dr. Seuss originally illustrated it.
Hmm.
Or no,
I,
Dr. Seuss wrote the story. He didn't like do the illustrations and whatnot, did he?
I think he did the illustrations in the book.
Okay, so yeah, there we go. Yeah. So again, even the song when he's doing all of his misdeeds, "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch." It's just it really just shows how sniveling and sly he is, that he's that
Hmm.
determined to ruin Christmas for the people of Whoville, but he comes to understand that yeah, it didn't really matter as long as they were happy and together and with each other. All the presents in the world and all the stuff that he stole from them, it didn't matter. And that's what
No.
made his heart grow three sizes that day.
Yep.
And even the same thing with the Charlie Brown Christmas. It really talked about the beauty of what it's all about, the birth of Jesus Christ and his sacrifice later on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've always believed, and it's one of the lessons my parents taught me. If you know, share the meaning of Christmas, say to someone, Merry Christmas. You're not trying to force your beliefs onto them. You're just wishing them the spirit of your holiday. Just like if someone were to come up to me and say Happy Hanukkah.
Or Happy Kwanzaa, or hell,
Yeah.
even someone says or even says Happy Ramadan.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter. I mean, everybody has to have. Everybody always has, like, it's the end. I know, and I understand, but people always want to talk about the idea, and this is where I know I don't want to get into this either. But just saying Happy Holiday is it's just a general platitude to saying it. I
Yeah.
also just say that, I mean, this is why it's just an interchangeable thing, which I just say, no, just saying Happy Holidays is just a general platitude, just to say. It's not anything driven or anything. It's just like, oh yeah, you don't know exactly if the person is of any of those like faiths or beliefs. Just saying Happy Holiday is just enough, personally,
Yep.
sometimes.
Because there's nothing wrong saying Happy Holidays, and there's nothing wrong with sharing, you know, somebody's particular celebration from their religion, because that's how we grow. That's how we learn. All
Yeah.
right. I can say to somebody, I really don't know too much when it comes to Hanukkah. Could you teach me a few things?
Exactly. I mean, I don't really see this. I mean, I really like to have people share their culture with others, even people who are of non or not even of the faith itself. I just love to see that. Heck, even in the show Static Shock, there actually was a mass for everyone that was all there. Everyone of every religion, Jewish, Muslim, Kwanzaa. Everyone was there in prayer, but the bigger story is just a little girl who had where he had to help a little homeless girl who obviously her mother was sick, father was abusive, but she was probably affected by the gas that turned a lot of these young kids into metahumans, along with Static himself. She developed ice powers, and of course, because of her own sadness, it caused a lot of stuff to freeze in her wake. And it's just a very sad and hardening story. It just really showed a lot of heart to help that, and she actually tried to help that little girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole point about that, is giving stuff to those who are not. I mean, even last night when I was out, last night, I just, like I said, I lit this candle I have right here, and I just sat there and held a prayer for all those who can't be with their families, and those who may be out there who are probably out there with nowhere to go, and probably are out on the street or something. And this, again, it's a thing that I know there are people out there who always should try to help those who can't really help themselves. And that's the beauty of what being Christian is. We're spreading the faith of the Lord by just generally being a good person, just being selfless.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't take much to smile at somebody. A smile can go a long way for somebody.
Yeah, and even then, Static Shock even taught that same thing. Showing someone the smallest bit of kindness and compassion can go a long way. And even then, I even learned about the idea about the concept of angels, is that helping others, you could be helping an angel yourself, or somebody out there who is an angel could help you. You just
Yeah.
don't know it. Heck, I think even a few weeks back, I walked into a convenience store that's like really that's right around the corner from my apartment, and the cashier lady who works there, and I've talked to her a few times. She told me that someone came in and paid for something I was going to get in advance for me.
Hmm.
And I was like,
That's
oh,
nice.
yeah, it's just like that shows that there's no even if they're a person who isn't religious. I mean, that should show that what I just said. That should show you that there is inherent like angels in this world and
Hmm.
saints. And that's what everyone should try to aspire to be like. Always aspire to be better. And heck, that's what superheroes always stood for. They were people who tried to stand above. They'd be in the umbrella to catch a hail of bullets to save a person.
Exactly.
The people
Eh,
who are just gonna, who are basically the things we all can look up to and aspire to hope to be better, and we can mold ourselves after. That's basically the whole point of what it is. I mean, even though it doesn't matter, it doesn't take Critical Drinker to tell you that, or everyone knows that concept of what superheroes always stood for. And I
mhm.
know, yeah, we're getting kind of like fatigued with all this stuff about superheroes because now they're just keep veering toward certain types of tropes and whatnot, try to make it dark and drab and whatever not. All because The Dark Knight was dark, gritty, and serious. Not every movie has to be like that. I mean, you can still have that sort of balance of stakes, but still have that levity to be a classic sort of like superhero fare.
Mhm. And I do want to take the moment to say Merry Christmas to Kathy Skywalker. Hope you've had a nice Christmas, Kathy. But yeah, I mean, eh, a lot of people, I get the reason why, because we're sort of you know geared by it, by seeing different commercials and advertisements and whatnot when it comes to Christmas. We're told this is the time of year to be nice, but you could be nice all year round. If
Exactly. This is not the time. This is something that everyone needs to be all year round. And I mean, I've seen all those videos of people who selflessly, like a man who stops traffic to help an old lady across the street. You just look at it and just like, oh, wow. Like again, these are when you look at them, you see these people as these are truly God's children.
I mean, you know, if you say you're in the grocery store and you're able to do it, or maybe somebody's short on some change to pay for the groceries, or they just don't have enough to pay for the groceries for what they need. If you have the means to do it, buy them groceries if you want to. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying,
Yeah, just do it out of the kindness of your own heart. But what makes a person just not so much really makes them kind of a jerk is that you do something and expect and actually you do something kind but expect a reward for somebody in return. That's not true. That's not being selfless at all. You're doing something, you're going out of your way to help another person who's in need.
I mean, I've had times where I've done something for somebody and they said, I'll pay you back. I'll do this for you. I'll do that. And I just look at them and say, no, pay it forward.
Yeah, it always does. Just that's all you got to do is just pay it forward. I mean, yeah. I think I've said this to you before, but my grandmother tried to do the exact same thing. She actually wanted to give a Walmart employee a reward for helping her out, for helping her out, helping us get a mini fridge that we were going to get for my grandfather that year,
Mhm.
and just helping us get it out to cars. I know that's his job, but look, it's not something he has to. It's not something that I know. She even told him, yeah, you could just come by the house later on and just like and she'll give you the reward. I mean, I understand that she was being generous, And look, and that's just kind of things where you always have my fault about my grandmother is that she at times she was a very stubborn woman at times.
Yeah, but I know myself, having worked retail, you're not supposed to take rewards from customers. It's part of your job if you can help a customer load an item into their card. I did it plenty of times, and I had customers say, "Here, take this," and I go, "Nope, I can't. I'm doing this because it's part of the reason why I'm here."
Yeah, exactly.
And again, it doesn't take much to be kind. It really doesn't. I know some people might think it's easier to be ugly to people, but really, being ugly to people just makes others want to stay away from you.
Exactly. And that's the whole point, though. But it's just ironic, but the same thing can apply for someone who's just only being nice because they expect something in return. That doesn't really make you it doesn't make you anything at all. It just makes you just someone who's just trying to be opportunistic or in some cases some people will just do it just for clout or whatever.
I mean,
Trying too hard to prove that, oh yeah, I'm actually a nice person. No. You're a nice person when you do it just just do it in the spur of the moment or just do it or just do
doing
it.
the spur of the moment and don't brag about it.
Yes.
That's one thing that irks me with some of the celebrities out there who like to brag about some of the things they do. It's like, you could have just gone about your day and just did the deed that you did and not said a word about it, but that's not how they work. That's not how they're wired.
Yeah, that's true.
It's, "Oh, look at me. I just donated such and such to this charity." Okay, yeah, that's nice and everything, but really, you don't need to tell the world about it.
Exactly. I like want to hear what Kathy said in this comment here, like the one before the one about kindness, and then we go to that one. Couldn't afford to give anything much of anything this year because Delilah had to have that surgery.
Yeah, and, that's the thing, you have unexpected expenses that can pop up this time of year,
Yeah,
and, I mean, you just never know. And Kathy is 100% correct about this. Kindness never goes out of style. Gab says, "Indeed." And Kathy also adds, "That's one thing I don't expect anything in return." No.
yeah, you shouldn't expect anything in return. But yeah, but when someone pays it forward in return only because and they did it out of the kindness of their own heart because
Mhm.
you did something because you actually genuinely did something good for them. You pay it forward and you'll help out somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I I've done things for friends, they've done things for me, and you know, when it's a situation where, either they've done something for me or I've done something for them, and we say, "Well, then I'm going to do this for you," and then they will say to me, or I'll say to them, "No, how about instead of buying me something, why don't we hang out one day? Why don't we, hang out? We don't have to necessarily go anywhere. Just hang out and have a little fun. Talk and catch up." Because you know, especially now with the way everything is, everybody's busy, so you don't have a lot of time to, really catch up with your friends anymore. And if you see them, it's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Real good. Well, gotta get on my way." It's one of those quick moments.
Yeah.
But some I I've met some people who, with good reason, don't like this time of year, and then I've met some people who, you know, once that autumn Christmas gets in the air, not only are they ready to put out their Halloween decorations, but you better believe they have their Christmas decorations on standby.
Oh yeah, I know. There was a person on the street that my grandparent that I lived on with my grandparents. At the very end of the street, there was this man right after Thanksgiving. He put his Christmas decorations out. And they were always the most beautiful ones on the block. Always, every year when he put them out, they were just so beautiful to look at.
And that's the thing. When it comes to people, it doesn't matter what holiday it is. If there's a holiday that they're passionate about, you'll know it. And if that's what makes them happy, then so be it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to judge them. And know, Pat, I want to be. I know you said that you're going to run to the store and you'll hop on when you get back, but I think that right now is a good time to end this stream. I wasn't really planning on going on too long, just going on for a little bit.
Yeah,
Get and give us all time to talk and share some Christmas memories and you know be good to one another.
exactly.
So before I leave, is there anything you'd like to promote yet?
Well, like I said though, you always can find me on Twitter at JetSparks373. You wanna just like talk, you wanna talk, ask me a question, ask me anything related to writing or my opinions on certain video games like Halo, Mass Effect, or even Power Rangers. Just shoot me something. I even think over the course of next year I want to be able to do panels where I can talk about those certain universes, talk about what our favorite seasons are, and I mean specifically to people who are massive fans of those franchises I mentioned, like Halo, Mass Effect, Power Rangers, Mortal Kombat, and yeah, stuff like that. Oh yeah, and Star Wars, of course. So just let me know. One of the big things I want to do come next year is like go in depth about lightsabers.
Well, there's one guy that we both know who would probably love to be part of that conversation, and that's Master Paul of the Star Wars guys.
Absolutely, and again, Paul, if you're watching or if you're watching it later, I'm welcome to have that discussion with you. And next time you get ready to watch Teen Titans again, I'll be ready to talk about it with you guys on there. So I'll see you then.
Excellent. And I do want to thank Kathy Skywalker for being here. Thank you very much. You have a good night as well, Kathy. I also want to thank Gap After Dark for being here. Thank you, Gap. Hope you and your mom have a Merry Christmas, what's left of it. And of course, the Pat I Wannabe. Thank you, brother, for being here. Greatly appreciate it. And as I scroll up here, I do want to thank Brandon Looney Tunes Fan 2000, who now has 970 subscribers. Congratulations, Brandon.
Man, almost 1K. Keep at it, Brandon.
Yeah, keep it going. I also want to thank Leah Rose. Thank you very much. And have a Merry Christmas. And same to you, Alan Copeland. Merry Christmas to you, brother. As I scroll up here, yes, he did make an appearance. What's a live stream without Phil McCracken? Phil, thank you for stopping by. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and your mother and your family. And Bush McFadden, thank you for stopping by. And Merry Christmas to you, brother. And of course, he's here with me right now. Jet Sparks. Thank you, Jet. And let's see, am I missing anybody? Yes, I almost missed two people actually. Dwayne Floyd Jr. Thank you, Dwayne, for stopping by. Merry Christmas to you. Also, Godzillionaire. Thank you very much for stopping by. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you all enjoyed this short live stream. Well, short as far as Pacific 4 and 4 is concerned. I do want to let you all know that on Wednesday, I am going to do an experiment with a new start time for Pop Talk. And that's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we are going to share some interesting stories and fond memories to wrap up 2022 before heading into 2023. This stream will also be streamed on Bear Norman Tag's channel, Bear Norman Tag's Fandomology. Unfortunately, I don't have the current up to date link, but you should still be able to get to his channel by using this old link here. But we will be sharing, you know, interesting stories and fond memories, and that all came about last weekend when an old man was on and he started talking about some of his experiences that he had, as a stuntman and also during his experiences in the armed services. So I started getting the idea, well, maybe we should wrap up Pop Talk with a stream where we're, sharing these interesting stories and fond memories to give us a break from talking about, you know, pop culture and entertainment. Because, you know, to be honest, sometimes, everything that's going on is like, okay, enough. But also, on another note, some of these stories also relate to pop culture in certain ways. So I have that coming up. And I also have this crazy idea percolating in my head that next Saturday at 11 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to go live all the way to midnight here on the East Coast to ring in the new year. I know. I'm nuts, aren't I?
No, if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine.
But but again, everybody, thank you for being here. Hope you all have yourselves a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa starting tomorrow, and to all of you, Happy Holidays, and be safe. Take care of yourself, and I will see you all probably Wednesday. If I do decide to do a stream before Wednesday, check me out on Twitter or check the Discord.
And God bless everyone all
Yes.
over this world.
Yes. Peace on earth, goodwill to men and women and children. Take care.